Good morning and welcome to 20 Minutes on Fighting Disinformation from Media City Bergen. Today we'll be hearing from Ghazal Sheikhi about how AI can be both the villain and our best friend in fighting online disinformation. Ghazal Sheikhi is a postdoctoral fellow at the Department of Information Science and Media Studies at the University of Bergen, and she will tell us more about this. So I'm hoping for some really good news today, Ghazal.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen. Okay. So, hello, everyone. And it's a great pleasure for me to be part of this wonderful initiative on fighting disinformation. Before I start, I'd like to have a note on the title of my talk. Train to deceive doesn't mean to blame AI or bless AI for the good or bad intention that the people behind this is using. So this is just a tool like every other tool, and it could be used with good or bad intention. Okay, just a simplified overview of how AI does what it is trained for. So we start by data, and by data we mean any information from the outside world about the problem we are trying to solve or create. So it depends. So the data could be images or videos. It could be textual content like news items, comments on Twitter or whatever. Or it could be any other data like metadata about images, the number of likes of a tweet, the number of retweets. Then we need a model. So the AI model is some scary mathematical equations with some variables inside it. And the aim of training an AI model is to tune those variables in order for the AI model to be able to discover some patterns from data. And the aim is to generate some output based on the input features. So some AI models are generative. So they learn how to generate images and videos, like the deepfake you hear a lot. Or generative textual models, which can generate text for us. They could be used for good purposes, like the online translations that we keep using every day. Or they could also be used to create fake comments or even fake news items. Another type of AI systems are the predictive models. In those cases, you give the model an input and it gives you a label like this video is fake, or this is a fake news, or a real news. So this is the simplified story behind the AI. And what matters here is because AI models learn from data, they could be trained to deceive people. They could be trained to generate something which is not real. They could be trained to disquiet human beings. And on the other hand, they also could be trained to detect those skeptical content or fake content. The problem on social media is because more and more people these days are using social media platforms as a source of news. So it is good to have social media, which helps people connect to each other, have access quickly to the content, but because the amount of information there, both visual and textual, is massive, it's not possible for human fact checkers and other people in the front line of disinformation to debunk all the information there. And you can see here, like, Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Twitter are among the most popular social media platforms for news consumption. And since the information there couldn't be debunked by human beings at scale and speed, and part of it is actually the guilt of the AI system for having that huge amount of disinformation there, part of it could be the blessing of AI helping us to debunk the information which human beings can't do. So, where is AI in the disinformation lifecycle? The bad news is that AI could be used to create and propagate disinformation at speed and scale. So it could create manipulated visual content, deep fakes, doing voice morphing, or it can also create fake news. Then there are some automated bots, political bots, trolls, and fake followers, and targeting ads. And all of this could help fueling disinformation. But on the other hand, the good news is AI could be the weapon to fight disinformation, because verifying using AI tools sometimes is more scalable and sophisticated than just relying on human beings. So we've got fake news detectors, bot detectors, multimedia forensics techniques, automated fact checking, and bias mitigation when it comes to ad targeting. So you will hear about all of this shortly. Let us start with deceptive content generation, where AI stands there. Okay, there are usually two types of content generation using AI. Deepfakes, the famous video everybody heard about the Ukraine war. And before AI tools or human being could debunk it, it's already went viral, but finally it was debunked. There is also AI systems. There are AI systems out there which are able to create fake news. How sophisticated they are? Still not very, but some research shows that even AI generated fake news could sometimes fool the experts. So you can see an example here of a fake news related to COVID vaccine generated completely by an AI system. So apparently AI is to be blamed for generating this, but at the end of the day, these are the human beings who train these models to be able to deceive people. Dissemination of disinformation is always also something that AI could be blamed for. So we've got social bots. I'm just giving a quick overview of every AI-based or something which is facilitated by AI that fuels the disinformation the spread on social media. So social bots are bots which are able to retweet, like, follow people, and they can fuel dissemination of disinformation because they could do all these acts at a massive scale. They are also able to launch cyber attacks because they can do all these actions at scale. A subcategory of them are called political bots, and those are trained specifically to promote political content. So people with that intention could use them to influence elections roundabout. There are other fake accounts there, which are called sock puppets. They are usually controlled by human beings, but sometimes some level of automation is added to them using AI, and then they can be called cyborgs. And the main aim of using them is to influence real users, targeted real users. Then there are trolls. You hear a lot about Russian trolls these days, and these are politically oriented sock puppets, and they are mainly controlled by governments when there are propagandas or they are being used by affiliated organizations. AI could also be used to create fake followers, and because on social media, most of the time, the number of followers, quantity is more important than quality, these AI fake followers, they exploit the attention-centric nature of social platforms to intensify some fake content. There is another hidden problem in using AI for disinformation dissemination, and this is related to ad targeting and delivery. Okay, it is good to have AI systems to help people receive more relative ads, but at the same time, since AI systems are trained based on data, and there is always a problem in the data, like biases towards some specific races or specific peoples or minorities are being ignored, then the AI system could intensify those harmful practices and discrimination. Okay, to see the extent of the problem about those fake and real accounts, I provided summary for 2021. So when you look at Facebook, in 2021, Facebook removed 6.5 billion fake accounts. You know that it couldn't be done using human beings, of course. They usually use AI and human being at the same time to detect fake accounts, but it shows the extent to which the problem is there. And comparing it to 3.5 billion active users in 2018, it shows the extent of the problem. For Twitter, almost similar story, 70 million fake accounts removed in 2021, and the average monthly active users of Twitter are 330 million. So they can have a huge impact on the way disinformation disseminates on social media. Now, the good news is that we can use AI to fight AI. So how? In the fight against disinformation, the first step that AI would step on is detecting social bots. I've just placed here some examples of different algorithms and programs are out there. So if you just Google social bot detection, you see 1,000 different methods and algorithms based on AI and machine learning. And the summary of the story is AI is better than human being in detecting social bots because it can look at to so many patterns and features that human beings are not. So this is the good news, and AI could be blessed for solving the problem created by itself, social bot detection. Another blessing of AI in the fight against disinformation is the way it helps for detecting fake content and to assist human fact checkers. Just listed here a few examples, and they are not the most sophisticated, of course, the most sophisticated web-based platform for fake news detection. They are just examples, like news check, open sources, arbitrary trusted items. These are just some examples of the platforms and tools out there to detect fake news. In addition to that, fact-checking organizations have already started relying on AI to help them during the procedure of fact-checking. Like Full Fact has a very sophisticated automated fact-checking system. It's not fully automated. There is always need for human being to be in the loop. But the laborious part of the job, like screening, finding related content, finding what to check, could be automated using AI. Or Google has established its own fact check tool. Again, it's not a very efficient one, but it's better than nothing. And since AI keeps emerging and developing, then it might come someday that AI is fully capable of debunking most of the disinformation, at least on social media. And the cutting edge technology also tries to use the fake content generated by AI in order to train AI to detect fake news. So there is a lot of technology out there and it keeps developing. So we can have hope that sooner or later, AI would contribute more and more into the fight against disinformation, more than it contributes to its spread. It feels it these days. And finally, we have multimedia forensics, the tools and methods, AI-based methods, which are used to debunk visual content. So I borrowed these two lists from a demo we created at Media Features, and it summarizes all the tools about image forensics. And I guess that 2 weeks ago at the same series, 20 Minutes of Fighting Disinformation, Tien, our colleague, has already talked about, which is multimedia forensics. But it is to say that, okay, AI can generate deepfake, but it can also be used to detect deepfake to fight against it. And it's not only deepfake, the manipulated pictures and videos, which are manually manipulated by human beings to deceive others, they could also be detected by AI tools, sometimes much better than human beings. And it's about the scale and the speed most of the time. In some cases, AI tools are better than human beings, but they are mainly out there to assist human beings in the fight against disinformation. Okay, it was all for me. So we had both good news and bad news, but I myself, as someone who's working with AI and automated assistants for fact checking, I've got a lot of hope in AI being more and more involved in helping the people on the front line of fighting disinformation.
Thank you so much, Gazal. That's fantastic. It's great that we have some good news, and we'll probably be checking in with you again in not too long to hear how things are progressing. Before we round up, let me remind you that we have our conference here on fighting disinformation at Media City Bergen on the 8th of June, MCB Hack. And for all of you that are involved in innovation and what to expect from the future, I would also like to remind you that we have the workshop on entrepreneurship with Tendai Viki on the 8th of June and MCB Tech 22 on the conference on the 9th of June. So lots on offer from us here at Media City Bergen. So with that, we ask you all to keep safe and stay healthy.